Welcome, Richard, to the Flagstaff.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us a little bit about your background with regard to art and how you got involved in being a professional artist?
Well, my background really started from childhood. I've been painting and drawing ever since I was a child. I've had no formal training as such, apart from doing art at high school and tech drawing, which I'd always found actually very useful as far as the perspective and the exercises we had to do with that side of things. But no, I've had no formal training. But I've always painted, and in 2001 I finally became a full-time artist, which was a long-held ambition, and so that's my basic involvement in art. And since then, of course, I've exhibited with galleries throughout the country, and of course here in Flagstaff. So yes.
And why do you choose to work in acrylic paint?
Really, it's because the way I paint, I prefer working on one piece of work at a time. I like to do that because the colour references and everything's in my mind, and I'm just concentrating on the one piece of work when I paint. So acrylics suit that style of painting as opposed to oils, which are slower drying, and some artists often work on a series of paintings, so that doesn't suit me. But also I believe in the quality of acrylics. I like the strength of colour. They're durable, flexible, and once the acrylic paint cures, it's cured. The process is finished, whereas with traditional oil paints, the curing process is an ongoing process, and hence you see some oxidation sometimes in some of the older traditional type paintings and so forth. So yes, I just believe in the quality of the acrylic product, and it suits the way I work.
Do you think the speed that comes with using acrylic paint influences your work?
I don't know whether the speed of the paint would influence it so much. In some respects it might, but I seem to be getting slower at painting, not quicker. So I don't know. Possibly not.
What is the primary motivation behind your work?
I just enjoy travelling around the country quite a bit. Often we do a bit of tramping and so forth, and other outdoor pursuits and activities, and along the way I'm always looking for new and older subjects that I go back to, but always looking for new things to paint, and I just find there's always something inspiring I come across that I'd like to try and get my impressions of it down on canvas and so forth. So I just enjoy the process of creating my impressions, if you like, and then of course I hope other people enjoy the process, or the end process as well.
What do you wish the viewer to take away with them when they look at your work?
Probably simply to connect with the work to start with, and I think probably all artists would say that, but really to connect with the work, and possibly view perhaps with a fresh pair of eyes a subject that they might have, or a scene they might have passed by before and thought was quite mundane or not that interesting, and you paint some of these subjects and suddenly people look at them fresh, or with a new set of eyes, or alternatively some of the more popular type scenes you might paint, people also look at a scene afresh and anew, but it's really just for people to identify and connect with the work is the main purpose, I suppose. Or hope they take away something.
Are there any artists that have influenced you?
Numerous. I really enjoy looking at other people's artwork and a wide range of artwork, and I've always been influenced along the way by various artists and so forth. Probably in more recent years, the likes of Peter McIntyre, who's a New Zealand painter, and Edward Hopper, the well-known American artist. And it's not necessarily that I paint like them, but it's more do with their compositions and perspective and the way they set up their paintings, if you like, or probably influences me. Plus, they're quite very versatile artists too. So, yeah, that'd be among the most recent influences.
What are the challenges you face in creating art in New Zealand?
Well, personally, I haven't found there have been challenges as such, because, as I said before, I'm inspired by the country I live in. It's all I've sort of known, apart from the odd travel overseas and so forth. And although I haven't had direct access to a lot of the European masters and other foreign arts and artists, I've always found inspiration within in our own country, and just found it natural that I wanted to create and produce work.
There seems to be very much a stepping back and looking at New Zealand culture a little bit inherent in your work. Would you say that's a point of fascination?
Yes, it is something that interests me because a lot of what I see with New Zealand isn't, or a lot of New Zealand isn't great for holding on to its heritage, culture, whatever. And a lot of the old buildings and that you see that are disappearing off the landscape slowly, I enjoy capturing a lot of these old buildings and so forth, and even some of the old fishing boats and so forth. So I enjoy capturing that type of subject, and how would I put it? They're a link to the past, but also they tell us something about it, our heritage, culture, where we've been, and that type of thing, I believe. And so yes, I enjoy painting that type of subject, as well as landscape and all sorts. I just enjoy the challenge of painting different things.
What excites you most about going to New York?
Really the opportunity to have my work shown on a world stage, if you like. I mean, the New York's one of the iconic cultural capitals of the world, and one of the largest, most well-known metropolitan centres in the world. So just the opportunity to have my work exhibited in that environment, I think it's a privilege, and I'm very happy to be sending my work there.
What do you hope to bring to the exhibition?
Well, again, probably my take or perspective on subjects or a slice of New Zealand as I see it, and I think not just for me but for the other artists, I think one of the things we're doing by taking the artwork there is you're showing New Zealand and New Zealand art perhaps in a different light than you might see through traditional tourist type of photographs and so forth. So it's just showing New Zealand in a slightly different light than what you might normally find.
Do you think that will change the reading of the work?
Depends. No, it depends perhaps on the viewer. I don't know whether there's going to be a different way. I believe there's quite a strong expat group of people who live in New York, and it would be quite interesting to know whether they're going to view work quite differently as opposed to the native New Yorkers, if you like. So, yeah, so I'm not sure what the what their readings or interpretations will be.
And finally, what are your thoughts about the Flagstaff Gallery bringing contemporary New Zealand art to New York?
Well, I think Flagstaff Gallery is to be commended and congratulated, really, for taking such a proactive approach to taking the New Zealand artwork or its New Zealand artists to a wider audience. And